Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Doctors of Running podcast, where we, a group of doctors of physical therapy, discuss the art and the science to the stuff that we are putting on our feet. Today, I am very excited for this podcast because today we have the Saucony team with us, and we are joined by Katie Pyle, Luca Ciccone, Cory Hoffman, and I'm very excited because a lot of times we have like one person on from each company, and it's fun to just get multifaceted, opinions and viewpoints of all of the different shoes and the stuff that are coming out. And yeah, thank you so much for coming on. I would like to start the podcast before we get going, just what your role is with Saucony and how long you've been there and everything.
Yeah, sure. I'll jump in first there. So my name's Katie Pyle. I'm our senior product manager of performance running. I've been with the brand for 13 years now. So I've had the privilege to, see a lot of great product, work on a lot of great product, and of course, work with some very smart and talented people like my two colleagues, Cory and Luca today. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. We're very happy to have you.
I'll jump in next.
Yeah.
I've been on the, I've been lucky enough to be on the show now a couple of times. So some of your listeners may recognize my voice, but my name is Cory Hoffman. I've been with Saucony a little over 4 years now, and I'm our senior performance engineer.
Nice. And Luca?
Hey, I'm Luca Ciccone. I work on the engineering side. I work very closely with Katie and Cory on connecting the dots when it comes to innovation in our products. Get to work on fun things like this all day with everybody. And I'm looking forward to talking about 2026 and many of the new rollouts that we have going on with foam, with plates, with all the great products that we have coming soon.
Sweet. And if you're listening to this podcast, we are coming fresh off of the running event or TRE for short. Unfortunately, Doctors of Running was not able to make it this year. And so part of the reason why we're doing these podcast series is to make up for that, but also get a little bit more of an in-depth conversation point as well. And that might be better than a quick 2-minute interview, at an event where everyone's overwhelmed. So I think it'd be great. But for those that don't know, that is kind of the showcase for a lot of the new footwear coming out for the next year for all of the respective companies and kind of different things to look out for. And so since we weren't there, we want to talk about some of those things. And so we can start there. What were some of the main things that you highlighted at the running event this year?
Yeah, I'll dive in. So 2026, I think, is a super exciting year for us as a brand in terms of newness, innovation, and foams for sure. So, we had a lot of newness, as I mentioned, but for sure, we'll highlight, maybe talk about 6 of sort of those key products for 2026. And so if we can dive right in, I would start with our first, probably most exciting, as it is all new product to the line, which is our all new Endorphin Azura. So this, one, super exciting thing is this really rounds out sort of that Endorphin collection, as we look at, Elite, Pro, Speed, and now we have the Azura as a great add-in. And really the story here is, you get that PWRRUN PB foam that you see in products like the Speed. But here, this is really designed for runners that want to run fast every day without a plate. So a really exciting story for that. And then Luca, Cory, I don't know if you want to dive in on anything specific.
Yeah. I'll jump in to say that the midsole in this is PWRRUN PB. So it's the same PWRRUN PB that you would experience in the Pro 4 and soon to come Pro 5 on the bottom. And what I always like to think about this shoe when I'm running in it is that it kind of feels like, to me, the spiritual successor to the Shift in a lot of ways. It has it has like sort of an aggressive kind of late stage rockers. You can see kind of on Katie's screen, and for those of you who can't see the imagery, you can kind of picture it in your head. And it's a non-plated Speed, in some ways, but in my mind, it kind of evokes like a lot of similar sensations that I experienced with the Shift. So for everyone out there that's looking for a Shift replacement and maybe looking toward other brands, perhaps you can consider this one for 2026.
It's a very loaded statement on our podcast. We have a lot of people looking for shift replacements.
I hear the shift mentioned, I would say 2 or 3 times a month on your podcast. So
yeah, it's a pretty frequent occurrence. Anything on the Azura, Luca?
I've been running in this shoe quite a bit, especially the pre-production version. I keep going back and forth between the Azura, other shoes. I keep coming back to this one.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of a secret to share about this shoe that we're not going to talk about. Well, it's out in the open. Do you know where the platform started off with this? It was based on the Endorphin Elite. We started with that same last from a fit perspective. That's why we're getting that late stage meta rocker effect that you just feel like you're getting pushed far forward in it. Also, the way that we engineered the toe spring geometry in order to do that with the groove that we have going on here, it just gives that very nice propulsive feel. That's what makes it feel like a shift, but with a very poppy sensation that we're getting from that PWRRUN PB.
I like that you brought that up because I feel like you can see that. And Cory talked about it too, like that late stage rocker. And I mean, I was a massive fan of Endorphin Elite. So like,
oh yeah,
I think it'll be great to see the Azura.
The other thing,
the
other thing too is the cost. Yeah. It's $150, which for a 100% PWRRUN PB shoe that's based on the same foundation as the Endorphin Elite, that's a pretty large value proposition in my opinion. It's aggressive. Even for me, I was surprised that we were able to do it.
Yeah. Are you able to share specifications on air? It's okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Katie.
Yeah. So if we're talking about stack height, we're looking at 40-32, so 8 mil offset. Weight, we're coming in at about what are we here? About 8, just over 8 maybe for a men's size 9. So we got a nice lightweight, a little more stack than the speed, and again with that PWRRUN PB coming in at 150, it's a really, really great shoe.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I mean, 150, just a little over 8 ounces, pure PWRRUN PB. Like, that's everything you would want in like a lightweight performance trainer. And I know for sure there's people out there that are wanting shoes that are non-plated as well. I think people are getting almost plate saturated in their running, and that people are almost finding that they want a little bit more flexibility, where everything's getting really high, everything's getting really rigid, and it'd be kind of nice to have a little bit more flexibility there. This is a super random question regarding the Azura, but that is just a really pretty name for a shoe. Like, what went into the naming for that? Like, I love the name, but is there anything that you guys can share about the naming of that, or?
Yeah, so that it actually ties back to an original model that we had called the Azura. So we kind of took some inspiration from that model and kind of brought that to life with this current model.
I believe you can still buy the original style. We re-released it a couple of years ago. You can get the original Azura and the Endorphin Azura. You can complement the both of them.
There you go. Well, cool. And then you mentioned you had like 5 other shoes.
So I think next a good one to talk about, because they will launch sort of hand in hand in February of 2026. So don't have to wait too much longer. Will be an update to our Endorphin Pro. Cool. So we know this Pro, we love this Pro. The Endorphin Pro sort of serves as our marathon workhorse, if you will, in the Endorphin line. So it's, got that durability you need. It's got that, go the distance comfort and kind of pop underfoot. So here we stick with the same foam setup in that we have a PWRRUN PB base with a top layer of our PWRRUN HG. So you get that really great, pop from the PB and that great sensation, that roll off with that HG right under the foot. The big change here comes in the plate. So here, if we think about the previous version's plate, we think of maybe a spoon shape. So a full carbon plate, and at the end, sort of a full rounded head. Here we articulate it. So we add some forks to the end, if you will. We also add some fluting, and I'll definitely let Luke and Cory jump in on that. But what that does is that really helps us add some longitudinal stiffness. So really helps you through that sort of toe off, that propulsion phase of the gait cycle. So again, really excited about the Pro. Again, this will also come out in February. So you kind of have your Azura story, non-plated, and then our, marathon kind of go-to workhorse shoe in the Endorphin Pro 5.
Nice.
Yeah, it's always difficult to update a great shoe.
Yeah.
We always have that discussion internally. And I think that the changes are definitely in the right direction, I think, for Pro 5. They're going to be more subtle. So I think fans of the Pro 4 will really appreciate the Pro 5.
And then Katie was mentioning like some of the changes in the plates. Would you be able to expand on that at all?
I can take that one.
Okay.
One of the things that we learned from the Endorphin Elite 1 was being able to add slots to the forefoot of the plate. I realize this is I'm going to probably front load it now. This is the plate to the Endorphin Elite 3, but it's still a pretty good prop to show you that we're adding these longitudinal grooves, these slots to the forefoot. We don't want to affect longitudinal stiffness, but what we want to do is we want to provide more of a natural foot movement as you're transitioning from lateral side to medial side. I love the fact that you brought up that shoes are getting stiffer. We want to make sure that we're not hindering the motion of the foot. We want to make sure it's working with your human anatomy. And this is where designing the plates in this manner makes a whole lot of sense. We want to make sure we're maintaining the speed rocker effect, but at the same time, just making sure that the foot can still move in a natural motion.
Yeah. And just to jump in there, David, the key with this is that if you a lot of midfoot, forefoot strikers tend to land more laterally on their foot, as you know.
Yep.
So if you are a heel striker, these kind of medial to lateral grooves aren't really going to affect much. But if you tend to be, really far lateral in your landing, like Andrea on your team,
very much so.
Someone like that is really going to appreciate that added flexibility, side to side without affecting kind of front to back stiffness, to put it in simple terms.
And you guys have found that by doing these split designs in the forefoot, that has not affected longitudinal bending stiffness.
Correct.
Yeah. Very cool.
It comes down to the way the carbon fiber layup is taken into consideration. We had to change that up a little bit just to be sure that we're still maintaining the stiffness that we want in the forefoot, but at the same time be able to affect it from lateral to medial motion.
Nice. And then as far as like the foam compounds go on the Endorphin Pro 5, is this the traditional PWRRUN PB or were there some modifications made to it? And same for the top layer of the PWRRUN HG.
Yeah, those compounds are the same as Pro 4.
Cool. And what are the specifications for that?
Yeah. So I was just going to jump in there. So we maintain sort of the basic template. So we're going to be at 39.5, 31.5 for an 8 mil offset. Here we're coming in men's size 9 at about 7.2, 7.3. So again, looking to make sure that we keep this relatively lightweight. And again, I mentioned we launch in February of 26 at $240 USD.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. And maybe one last thing I want to jump in and say is I think what a lot of people appreciate about the Pro and the Endorphin Pro, what makes it special is its durability.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the outsole
for
specifically.
Hundreds and hundreds of miles. So you can really get a lot of years, and racing seasons out of a Pro. And I think that's something that, a lot of, quote unquote super shoes or advanced footwear technologies are, maybe making sacrifices to perhaps reduce weight or potentially reduce stability, to reduce weight. And a lot of those tend to compromise overall durability of the product. And I think, you're going to get a really good value, for that $240 for a super shoe that will maintain its properties for a really long time.
Yeah, I remember that specifically in the Pro 4 and Elite 4. I put a lot of miles on this. It's like, and that outsole too is very tacky. Like I remember that just like that lattice kind of feeling of on that forefoot, it just gripped really well. Yeah. And I felt like I could rip it on the track, on the road, whatever needed. I could corner really well. So I'm excited. Yeah, I think that'll be fun to see the Endorphin Pro 5.
Katie, if you hold up the outsole again, that's a good point to bring up just due to the fact that you notice how much more ribbing is in that outsole design. That's just going to help provide way more geometrical grip along with Power Track rubber. Power Track rubber is something that we use on trail shoes, and we decided to apply it here just due to the fact that we want to make sure that slip resistance is quite good, but at the same time, it can be very long lasting. You're going to notice a huge difference when it just comes to grip and bite with the shoe.
Sweet.
All right. So if we're going to tail in again to Endorphin, again, a really exciting update as well, which will come to us in June of 26. So we're kind of hitting that back half now. So here we look to update our Endorphin Elite. So we know we've had something very special with the 1 and now into the 2. And so we look to sort of double down here on the Elite, and we've made some very strategic changes specifically to sort of the footprint of the shoe. We maintain our double layer of our IncrediRun foam. So we know that's an incredibly unique performing and dynamic foam. We stay with a really lightweight race day upper, sock-like fit, and really built to go fast and show up on the start line at race day. As I mentioned, the key sort of areas that we changed in the shoe, when we think about the Elite 2, some of the feedback we got was, love the shoe, awesome, amazing, but can we get it a little more stable? So we wanted to do that without sort of adding weight, which is always a challenge when you're looking to sort of add to the platform of a shoe. So here we add some foam to the heel area, and then also to the midfoot area. If you recall in the Elite 2, it's pretty carved out. So we added that foam back. So what that does is it just gives you a little bit more platform, a little bit more stability when you're taking those corners or really picking up the pace. So again, we're super stoked about sort of how this Elite came out. And again, the testing is great. So I won't steal any of Cory's thunder there, but.
Oh, I know Cory's in the lab and just add it constantly. I've been in the lab. I know. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't too long ago that we had you in for some testing. So it specifically, I believe it was an early prototype of the Elite 2.
It was.
That you had the opportunity to run in. And if
I didn't say it,
if I remember correctly, I teased that, not you. If I remember correctly, your efficiency numbers were kind of eye-popping in that Elite 2. So.
Yeah. It's a very fun shoe. Yeah. I like it. And then I know, especially with Endorphin Elite 1, I felt like that was such a massive step forward for the racing direction for Saucony. And then with PWRRUN HG moving to IncrediRun, having this new midsole, and then we're continuing along the line of IncrediRun. Are you all able to expand on what IncrediRun is?
Sure. Luca?
Yeah. Is that... I know it's a loaded question.
How would you like me to articulate that? The one thing that people tend to bring up anytime they put on an Elite 2 or an Elite 3 is they go, wow, this thing is super fun to run in. I feel like I'm jumping on a trampoline. Well, here I am on a podcast giving away secrets again. What if I were to tell you this is very similar to the fabric that's used on a trampoline? When people often say, oh, well, it reacts like a non-Newtonian fluid. Everybody on this call knows what a non-Newtonian fluid is. The more I impact it, the stiffer it gets. But the way that I've been using the metaphor lately, it's very similar to jumping on a trampoline. If I'm walking on a trampoline, it's going to be very unstable. I'm not going to be able to get my footing. But as soon as you start bouncing, you start building momentum into it. That's when the power comes out of how high you can jump in it. The more power you put into this foam, the more of that trampoline effect that you'll be getting. And I feel like that's the most simple way of putting it. And we're using a thermoplastic polyester elastomer, TPEE. This is a newer material that has been a very interesting material to foam out in order to get very interesting sensations. The energy efficiency has been off the charts with it. I often like to say, Cory and I and Katie, when we were first looking at this foam, we were just completely blown away with the performance properties, where we wanted to just use it in our most pinnacle series of shoes, which is the Endorphin Elite. And that's why we decided to carry this over into the Elite 3, just due to the fact that everybody loved it in the Elite 2. It was such a big quantum shift from going from, HG to IncrediRun, but that was okay just due to the fact that, again, we're going to put the most special, most advanced foams in our leading shoes.
Yeah, I'm excited for Endorphin Elite 3 because I do kind of fall in that camp where I just kind of wished it was a touch more stable, especially for 26.2. And but I felt like there was a lot of promise to it, and it felt very lively, and I felt like it just needed just a little bit of, I don't know, just additional stability. And it sounds like you guys are addressing that, so I'm really excited for that.
One quick thing I wanted to speak about the plate. We went through about 5 or 6 I'm pretty sure we went through 6 iterations. But one thing that we did do to the plate, you notice if you look closely here, we added these spines in to these fingers where we split it up. This is adding far more longitudinal stiffness, which helps build out the foam in order to build that stability. One of the big complaints that I would say feedback items that we were getting from our elite athletes is whenever I take the radius or I take the turn, I lose that momentum. I stop jumping on the trampoline and everything slows down a little bit. This addresses this precisely, where you're going to be able to keep up that momentum as you are going through a very tight turning course, where if it's not a straight line, it should address that perfectly.
I'm glad that you talked about that too, because I feel like so many super shoes these days, it's very much like longitudinal and sagittal motion, like where it's like, how fast can I get this thing going in a straight line? How efficient can we be in a straight line? And the second you have to turn, you're like, oh my gosh. And then you start like tiptoeing, and then like cornering can be quite hard in some of these shoes. So I'm glad that you guys are looking into that. And that's a very important part of racing, because we don't race in straight lines unless it's a road mile at New York or something. But yeah. Cool. Anything else on the Endorphin Elite, or did we want to?
I actually I think it's a perfect segue into a totally new shoe. Again, bringing the newness in 26, is again, an all new one, called the Paramount Max. So kind of why I said it was a perfect segue is here we actually bring a full stack, of our IncrediRun foam that you find in the shoes, like a racing shoe, like the Elite. We bring this to sort of a max stack everyday, non-plated, kind of neutral cushioning shoe. So again, very wide platform. You're sitting again on a thick bed of that awesome IncrediRun foam. And then, making sure that we're paying attention to all the details in the upper, a nice engineered mesh, a 3D molded heel, super comfortable, ultimate, kind of underfoot experience in an everyday, trainer.
And what are specifications for that model?
So I believe we're 4337. So 6 mil offset. We're looking at $200, and we're coming in just right above 10 ounces. So for as kind of chonky and beefy as this guy is, we're relatively lightweight, again, for an everyday trainer. And with that sort of IncrediRun foam, it really delivers a very unique underfoot experience for sure.
And that full foam, that's all IncrediRun?
Yeah, all IncrediRun, and a 10 mil IncrediRun sock liner. So we sort of doubled down on that IncrediRun underfoot feel.
That's got to be a plus shoe.
It's pretty good. I mean, it's one of those shoes you put on, you're like, I don't think I really want to take this one off. So it's cool. It's excellent. Yeah, we're super excited about this one. And this will be a June launch as well.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah, we've been testing ever since we got far enough along in the development process that we knew we wanted to have IncrediRun in the early stages of the Endorphin Elite 2. We've been testing ways to get this into a daily trainer, or a performance trainer, or a super trainer, or whatever term you like. And it's taken a while, because as you can imagine, this is a pretty unique foam with very unique properties. And to get it to work in a daily trainer, we've iterated quite a few times. And I think what we've landed on is a unique blend of characteristics here that create a pretty unparalleled underfoot feel in this type of product.
Yeah, I'm excited to try that one. That sounds just knowing what IncrediRun felt like in the Endorphin Elite 2. I didn't get to run in the Endorphin Trainer, but just picturing 43 mils of that with a 10 mil on the inside. That's got to be very plush and bouncy. Yeah, well, never mind. I won't ask that question. That's probably too internal, but yeah, that's cool. Anything that you guys want to add on that shoe specifically, like looking?
Cory, how many rounds of foam development did we go through on this one? This one was tough. We had loads of learnings from the original IncrediRun that we got from the Endorphin Elite 2. The ask was to how do we specifically tune this foam to be used on a trainer such as this one? There's such an interesting proprioceptive feel to IncrediRun. We went back and forth. We had to go back to some of the original engineering in order to work on this. If this tiny little block right here that I'm showing you, that I'll use my little toy car to show you the size of it. This is
we got a Hot Wheel ready.
This is a solid chunk of a specifically formulated TPEE that goes into an autoclave to be supercritically foamed into this size right here. We're going from here to over 200% expansion ratio, where the geometry is then specifically figured out in order to be sure that the stiffness values of the midsole and the geometry is holding exactly the way that we expect on a shoe such as this one. We went through probably, there was even prototypes that we were developing before where we were trying this, and we kept getting test results coming back where people are like, nope, that's wrong. Nope, that's wrong. And then we finally found that right ratio and we said, we're going to go with it. And I can't believe how much we just became experts on how to tune the specific foam for many future models to come.
I'm glad you guys went through that full process too, because sometimes when you have a material, you kind of have a certain level of pressure, like we got to get this out, right?
Yeah.
We got it. And so it's a little bit of time to slow down and just make sure that it's implemented well.
We were supposed to launch this shoe a season or two ago, and we decided not to because it wasn't right. When it's not right, we're not going to do it.
Right. Yeah, I've noticed that with Saucony as a company, you guys have done a good job of like when you roll something out, you feel good about it. Yeah. And the foams have all been very good over the years. And yeah, I've been very happy with a lot of the product rolling out over the last few years. Cool. And then I don't think I hate to circle back and I apologize, but I don't think we got specifications for the Endorphin Elite 3. For the listeners that do want to hear that. Yeah.
Great call. So Endorphin Elite 3, again, we stay with the same stack. So 39.5, 31. So that 8 mil offset. We're coming in at right around 7-ish ounces for the Elite 3. So nice and lightweight at a men's size 9. And we're looking at 290 USD for the Endorphin Elite 3, which again launches in June of 26.
And from a runner's experience, what would you say is the major difference between the Endorphin Elite 3 and the Endorphin Pro 5?
Yeah, that's a great call. I think that, well, first and foremost, the foam is completely different. So it's a very different underfoot sensation and underfoot feel. And then, I would also say that from a durability standpoint, I think Cory hit on that earlier. That Endorphin Pro is just sort of that race day workhorse. So you're going to get a lot more miles, a lot more racing out of that shoe than you might with an Elite, which is really, again, designed to go fast, and for that race day experience.
The one thing that you will notice, and this is just my personal anecdote running in both of the shoes, is that the speed roll is far more extreme in the Endorphin Elite 3, just due to the fact that it's pinnacle. If you're familiar with the Endorphin Pro franchise, this is going to be a very welcome addition if you decide to upgrade into it. But the difference between the Pro 5 all the way up to the Elite 3 is you just want to go fast in it all the time.
Got it.
Kind of thing. You can
where the Pro 5 will have a little bit more
of a little bit of leeway with it, but the 3, you're just going to want to go fast. That's it.
That makes sense. I mean, IncrediRun's pretty bouncy.
Yeah.
And you guys were able to tune that well for the new Paramount Max to have like a smooth, it looks like a rocket experience, just plush, easy day. And so with that, you tuned the IncrediRun to have a slightly a plush but slightly different experience than the Endorphin Elite, where it's not like you want to just go fast in this plush trainer, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yep. It's a slightly different tune of IncrediRun. It's also not plated. Relative to the Endorphin Elite 3, which is so the underfoot sensation is still very superlative, still very extremely bouncy. But not having that plate in there, being a taller stack, it's going to provide a unique underfoot feel. So it's tuned for more kind of diverse ranges of sizes and paces. Whereas the Endorphin Elite 3, you can go a little bit slower in it, but it really wants you to go faster and faster.
Cool. And then, we can move on to the next one. Yeah.
Sweet. So I think if we're kind of rounding out sort of 2026, like key innovations, a big story for us is the launch of an all new foam, which is called IncrediLux. So this will sit in our sort of Increda families of foam. Thank you, Luca.
Luca is so ready with all
he's ready. He's got it. Yeah, he's got it.
I got all my stuff.
So again, we'll introduce this in our 2 sort of premium neutral and our max cushion trainer in the Triumph and then the Hurricane.
Oh, cool.
Again, a really welcome and really exciting underfoot experience here. So if we look at the all new Triumph 24, we see that addition of the IncrediLux. So we'll, and we add 3 millimeters of stack to the 24. So here we're looking at 43-33. So we're sitting at that 10 mil offset. The cool thing about this is we add, 3 mils of foam, but we're taking about, almost a half ounce out of the weight. So we're able to not only get more foam in and get more, of that plush sort of comfort feel underfoot, but we're able to take weight out, which is always a win-win. And so again, we'll introduce this in both our Hurricane, which I'll talk about in just a minute, and then in the Triumph 24. So again, really exciting update. We're really pleased with IncrediRun and the performance is pretty incredible. So I'll let Luca and Cory kind of jump in on the specifics of that foam.
Yeah. Luca will dive into like the chemical composition and all that, but from a testing perspective, what makes IncrediLux interesting and unique is what we call in the mechanical testing world strain energy density. It's essentially the ability of the foam to absorb energy. And this compound, IncrediLux, is the highest that we've commercialized to date in its ability to absorb energy. What does that mean for the end user, for the runner, for the experience? It means it's going to be extremely protective and it's going to be really highly cushioned. So underfoot, it's going to have a unique extreme property in its ability to just be protective and cushioned and absorb energy on impact, more so than any other material. Whereas if you think IncrediRun, its superlative is its bounce, its responsiveness, its energy efficiency is what makes it superlative. For IncrediLux, what makes it superlative is its ability to absorb energy.
And so I'm anticipating that being like a nice shoe to just kind of shuffle around in, but it can just take a beating if you wanted to go for 20 miles on the road or something.
Exactly.
One thing that I wish Cory would have talked about is the resistance to bottoming out. That's what makes this aliphatic TPU very special. By the way, 100% aliphatic TPU in an $170 shoe. I often say that every shoe is just going to start floating away pretty soon. 8.8 ounces in a trainer for $170. This should be a super shoe for $300, but it's not. We're putting it in a Triumph. The one thing that I want to talk about is the foam properties are out of this world good. I love the fact that Cory brought up all of the testing that his team has done when it comes to just, hey, its ability to protect, its ability to absorb. It's also fun to run in as well. It can pop. If you want it to go fast, it goes fast. The less mass you can put on the bottom of your foot, you're just going to be able to run a little bit quicker if you want to pick up the pace. But if you want to put that long, slow run in 20 miles, this thing will support you for that as well. The one thing that's probably one of my favorite things to talk about, it's not on the outside of the shoe, it's on the inside of the shoe. Not only do we put IncrediRun on the midsole, it's also on the sock liner as well. We did not cut any corners when we built the shoe whatsoever. Also, here's another little tidbit secret. If you look on the inside of this right here is what's called the stromal board. That's what pulls the upper together to make it 3D, or to make a 3D shape out of it. This is a 100% supercritically foamed TPE. It's 3 millimeters thick. So we have 7 millimeters of the Incredilux sock liner. We have the stromal board along with the new Incredilux midsole along with the entire package here for $170. I'm surprised we're still making money at this stuff.
Yeah. Those are some pretty big advancements for the Triumph, Yeah.
I think Luca too touched on one of the points that I've been putting a lot of miles on this Triumph 24. And I think because of the weight, it does allow you to sort of pick up the pace a little bit more than probably maybe Triumphs of the past have. So it's a really fun shoe to run in, comfortable, but also super fun. So
nice. And then what are specifications for that again? That was, you said 43.
So that was 4333, 10 mil offset. Yeah. Men's size 9, as Luca kind of hinted at, we're coming in at 8.8 ounces. So I mean, a sub 9, daily trainer is pretty incredible. And again, 170, and this will launch in June as well of 2026.
Awesome. And then the Hurricane, I imagine it's where this is going. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would be.
So all new Hurricane, Hurricane 26 here. Same kind of great story as we're bringing to the Triumph. So we're adding that Incredilux. So a nice thick bed of that Incredilux. We still keep the same sort of templates and chassis. So you'll find that top layer of Incredilux foam and then sort of the bottom chassis of PWRRUN. So that gives you a really nice protective feel. And then again, really for our max cushion, the ideas are, we keep a nice broad platform, higher sidewalls. So your foot really sits in that shoe, and really gives you a nice sort of, supportive, protective, feeling underfoot for the run. Similar story to the Triumph here. We add, we say the same foam, but we, lose again about a half ounce here as well. So, for a shoe like, for Hurricane where we're, it's a pretty thick stack and pretty wide, nets, we're again looking at a pretty nice lightweight here. So, 2 of our core shoes bringing, innovation with Incredilux. We couldn't be more happy with how these guys came out.
And what was the weight that it got down to?
Let's see here. The weight that we got down to on this one is about 9.2 ounces, for a men's size 9. So, you're talking the Triumph at 8.8, this one at 9.2. So you're looking at a pretty lightweight, max cushion story. Again, here we go 4135 offset. So 6 mils. And similarly, as Luca sort of hinted at in the Triumph, we also have an Incredilux sock liner as well. So sort of doubling down on that awesome ATPU foam here.
And this might be going off of the tracks or slightly, but there's a lot of reminiscence to this design with the Saucony Tempest. Is this a continuation of that, or are those going to be separate, or just the idea of the PWRRUN chassis with the premium foam on top?
Yeah, I think definitely the Tempest was more in a sort of go fast trainer, whereas, our Hurricane's more of that daily trainer. Also, I'd argue that the chassis isn't as, I think in the Tempest, it came up pretty high on both sides. This one's just really sort of kind of cradles the base. So it just gives you a little bit more of that support and protection in combination with the Incredilux.
Cool.
Somebody at TRE, when I was showcasing the Hurricane 26,
that's a great visual.
Somebody was saying that this is the first stability shoe that's using a 100% ATPU midsole and sock liner, which, based on my knowledge, I'm pretty sure we are the first ones to do that. Especially,
I think that's true.
Especially at 9.2 ounces. This thing, I can't think of any other shoe in this class of product that matches from an innovation and technological standpoint. About the platform, just to articulate a bit more about what Katie was saying, the platforming that we took here, I'm glad you brought up the Tempest, just due to the fact that we learned quite a bit about these PWRRUN chassis when it comes to being able to build out the geometrical structure of that platform to keep your foot concentric and planted forward. We for a shoe such as the Hurricane, this guy right here, everybody loves the midsole on this. Everybody loves the underfoot feel. It was making sure we could keep it familiar along with inviting new people to it. I like the fact that Katie was bringing up that you can feel the weight difference, even though it's a half of an ounce. You can notice that when you're out for a run or you're out for a walk. This thing right here is going to be the Swiss Army knife for many people, even that comfort consumer. I let my mom's a 72-year-old Italian woman. I let her put a pair of these on, and she was just like, oh my gosh, these are very fun to walk. And it just helped motivate her to walk even further. And she was just impressed with how lightweight and bouncy they were. It's going to make everybody feel better when they put them on.
Cool. Yeah. And being down at like that low 9-ounce range for a stability shoe is pretty unique, especially with an ATP based midsole. So I'm excited to see the experience on that. What did you see in the lab, Cory?
Yeah. Same concept here as past Hurricanes with what we call center path technology, or I like to call it center path geometry. Internally, but that's, it's center path technology. So, the idea there, is that, like Katie mentioned, you sit in the shoe, high sidewalls, lower heel toe offset, broad base, all of those characteristics lend together to give you kind of a nice forward guidance. We don't want to aggressively correct, or shove your foot in one direction, but more so just help guide you kind of posterior to anterior in terms of your center of pressure. And that's what, for both the Guide and the Hurricane and the last couple of iterations, what we've measured in the lab is that, they really do a better job of just kind of guiding your center of pressure a little more kind of centered along the foot. Can't say medial because it's technically, it's like, it's halfway between medial and lateral, but that would also be medial, I guess. But it's centered, I think, is a term that makes it a little more easy. So, yeah, the foam, like I mentioned, it's the same Incredilux foam, so really protective, really superlative in its ability to absorb energy, and it's also outrageously lightweight in terms of it has a very low density. So those properties kind of combine together to result in significant weight reduction in the product and also a significant improvement in its ability to absorb energy, which we think will lend itself really well to kind of this daily training, recovery training, easy day type of shoe that can also pick up the pace because of how lightweight it is.
Cool. Yeah, so a lot of big things kind of looking at 2026 there, like pushing the boundaries on the performance line and in the premium lineups. Looking like if we take a step down there and look more kind of at some of the flagship models, like your rides and your guides and some of those models, what are some of the updates that we may be seeing in those models?
Well, we'll launch the Ride 19, Guide 19 in spring of this year. So Ride will launch in January. So coming up right around the block here, really we're looking, at foams and making sure that, we deliver that best underfoot experience for whatever product that we're trying to put out, and obviously for the runner. So we'll look at a little bit lighter version, a little bit softer version of our PWRRUN Plus in the Ride. And then in the Guide 19, similarly looking at foams, we build it a little bit differently in terms of we go with a compression molded EVA, which really allows us to sort of control and really get that a really perfect blend of or a perfect EVA feel underfoot. So again, looking to make sure that we're delivering, especially in those core price points, to your point, really great experience and versatile experience for the runner in both those models.
Something worth mentioning on the Guide as well, that went through a huge foam upgrade as well. The PWRRUN foam, Katie brought it up, it's compression molded. It's also 25% lighter and a few more percent energy efficient as well. It's a far more premium EVA than what we were using prior. The nice thing about compression molding, and we often talk about stability, especially on a loved a love shoe such as the Guide is we wanted to be sure that we're building in that platforming in order to guide the foot, but in a way where it's not hindering the motion of the foot itself, but it's just providing that platform in order to keep your foot concentric for the most part.
Okay. And I know like with the Triumph, you have that chassis and you kind of just like center guidance type of pathway that you're looking for. I know the elements and the theme for the Guide are similar, but the Guide does not have a chassis, correct?
Correct.
How do you go about like accomplishing that task in that model without the chassis?
Cory brought it up quite nicely. Where we talk about center path technology. It's broader, it's higher sidewalls, broader sidewalls that come out as well. And also it's that meta rocker effect that we're trying to build. The overall toe spring, the overall geometry was very closely looked at, especially when it comes to a shoe such as the Guide. And we can go back and forth with R&D in order to be sure that everything is working out for the mass populations that do enjoy working and riding or wearing the Guide, should I say.
I think the other thing to keep in mind too, if we're looking at the two sort of separate buckets of category is, the Hurricane being sort of that premium max cushion and the Guide, sort of share those same tenets that Luca and Cory are touching on, that center path technology, the higher sidewalls, broader base. Whereas you come to our more neutral cushioning, which is the Triumph and the Ride, those are going to have a little bit more traditional sort of hourglass shape. You sit a little higher up on the shoe, on the platform than you do maybe in the Hurricane or the Guide. So definitely separate products for sure, with different intentions and different feels. So yeah.
Cool. And then I just wanted to, for the listeners, because we just have so many people that love shoe tech and just materials and properties, if we are able to talk roughly about what the composition of kind of all of the lines of foam that you guys have, at least what we are able to talk about. You expanded that PWRRUN is a compressed molded EVA, at least in this newer version.
PWRRRUN is specifically tuned for each one of our franchise models. It's typically a premium EVA. It can be either injected molded or compression molded. We typically look at many of the additive packages that are put into the EVA itself in order to be sure that we're giving the right experience for the PWRRUN specifically for that model. PWRRUN Plus is a supercritically foamed ATPU. It's specifically designed for PWRRUN Plus. It's a particle foam. You've probably seen bead foams before. That's another one of the models that we use quite a bit of. We've been using bead foams as a company for over 10 years at this point. It started with EverRun. Our institutional knowledge of being able to use these types of TPU foams is we often use that as a reference point in order to tune for future franchise models. And as I mentioned, we have that institutional experience with being able to do that. PWRRUN PB. It's also a particle foam as well. It's 100% PBA based foam. It is a workhorse foam that's trusted by many athletes that are out there. We've been using it since the Endorphin Pro 1, the Endorphin Speed 1. Why fix it if it isn't broken? It's still a phenomenal foam that people keep coming back to. Should I touch upon any other ones or?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Oh, what else am I missing?
Or what's your
Incrediron and Incredilux?
Oh,
I think is.
Yeah.
And HG.
Oh, HG. Yeah.
HG was we often talk about technological advancement. Before we were able to get all these new modern day foams, HG was called the Holy Grail just due to the fact that at the time, this was the lightest, the bounciest foam that we could get when the Endorphin Elite 1 first came out. Before Incredilux, it's still a phenomenal material. It still performs awesome. There's still athletes that absolutely love the foam, and it's one of the reasons why we still keep it in the Endorphin Pro series, just due to the fact that we transitioned over into more of a hybrid setup between PB and HG. It is a 100% PBA based foam as well. It's a non-particle foam. It's a full SCF process in order to build the blocker itself. That's where the magic happens, just from a feeling standpoint, where it just gives that little extra pop. It also gives the it gives that little bit extra responsiveness as well that people truly look for. Sometimes we test foams mechanically and we get certain properties out of them, but once you put them on human testers, they might give you totally different vernacular against it. And that's always trying to find that right balance between, well, how does the foam perform mechanically versus how they test on people? And that's one of the reasons why we tune each one of these foams for the franchise models that they're used in. Incredilux, this is a 100% ATPU compound. It is a non-bead foam. You've probably heard of these ATPUs as of recently that are being used in many super shoes that are used throughout our competition. We're now using them in Triumph and Hurricanes and whatnot. It's specifically tuned in order to not only give great energy efficiency, but also what Cory articulated before about energy absorption and being a leader when it comes to that. We're excited to keep expanding upon that technology as the future moves forward. And then obviously our most pinnacle foam at the moment is PWRRUN. As you know, it launched in the Elite 2. This is a 100% TPEE thermoplastic polyester elastomer, the same stuff that they use on top of trampoline fabric. The original compound was tuned in order to give you that very interesting sensation of just huge bounce, huge bounce. It is a unique underfoot feel that no other super shoe was able to give. And now we're beginning to trickle that down into shoes such as the Paramount Max that want that same feeling, but we want to democratize innovation as they start going into future models for Saucony. We're always going to build what I call the running equipment, the Elites, in the higher up models than that, but we always want to democratize down in order to make that everyday product that can address many runners and other people's needs for comfort footwear. I believe that's all of them.
I believe so.
Cool.
Thank you. Yeah, we never had like a full rundown of all of the different midsoles and things like that. So I just, for our listeners, everyone's always like, what is that? What is that made of? Like
Katie and Cory and myself, we always have our internal names for foams, which is, it's some crazy number and it's what revision and Mark we're working on. It's like, oh, that's what we're calling this one. And I had to process it in my mind for a second.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the same in the PT world, right? Like everyone has like a language that they use when they're talking amongst peers. And then you go to the public and you're like, oh yeah, we got to say this the way that
it's like, Katie, it's alpha, beta, theta, Mark IV. Okay. Go get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny.
Well, cool. Well, I think we covered a lot there for 2026. I'm very happy with it. Is there anything big that you guys want to announce as a company for 2026, or is that all?
I just think you'll see in addition to these 6 shoes, we're, pretty relentless when it comes to, making updates and delivering, new innovation and new products. You'll see outside of this, a lot more in 2026. So if you're running in a Saucony now or you're not, we've got the shoe for you in 26, in a new iteration, and ready to go. So we're excited. 2026 will be a big one for us for sure.
I agree. I'm very excited to see everything. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on, everyone. If you're listening to this, thank you for listening. If you're watching, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe on all of the proper channels. But yeah, have a good one, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
thank you.
Of course.